Hey guys, this is the Footy Pod, and we're back previewing for this weekend's exciting, massive Champions League clash between Manchester City and Chelsea. We also have a couple other things to discuss along the way. We want to discuss the Europa League final that happened last weekend, like last night, and that was a very exciting game. And yeah, United losing that one, bit of a surprise. We also want to discuss a bit of a conundrum surrounding the managers across the footballing community. We had a few surprises with Antonio Conte leaving, Mass Allegri joining Juventus all of a sudden, Zidane leaving. All that wasn't big news, that was expected. So we have a lot to dig into, and as always, I have with me Sato Satyajit Banerjee, uh, our beloved little Sato, and he's here to dissect all of this with me. Sato, say hi.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
All right. What do you think about the game last night? Europa League. That was big, man. That was big for La Liga.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everyone put Manchester United as out and out favorites, given their position in the league table. They came second, whereas Villarreal finished seventh in La Liga. But it was not really meant to be for Man United. I think they were clearly unable to do anything. They only had two shots on target in 120 minutes. Simply not good enough for a team which is second in the Premier League. And ultimately, they were beaten on penalties, which, it was a long penalty shootout, which seemingly never ending. But ultimately, it was David De Gea, the goalkeeper, who missed their penalty and handed Villarreal the trophy.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it wasn't like a very exciting game, but then finals almost rarely are, right? Just because it always tends to be a lot more cagey with people not really wanting to go for the kill, and sort of trying to hold back and trying not to go behind, right? That's usually what finals are like. And this is what yesterday was like. It was a typical final, but it was a lot of elite quality football. Like there weren't mistakes at all. Villarreal scored from a free kick, which was a great free kick, by the way, great free kick from Danny Parejo, I believe. Great goal by Gerard Moreno. He scored 30 goals this season now, and he's a real shoe-in for Spain for the starting lineup. So looking forward to that. Uh, but yeah, interesting game, man. There weren't a lot of chances created either way, and I always figured that that was always going to go to penalties, and I thought that penalties were Villarreal's best chance to win the final, and that's how it turned out. Also, dude, 10 out of 10 penalties, and the goalkeepers decided the penalties. Like, what even? That's people are. I'm seeing this trend now where people are gradually getting very good at taking penalties, and I don't know if that's down to the goalkeepers, but it's something that I've been seeing for a while now. And yeah, De Gea missing yesterday, so big kick for United. It was their chance to win a trophy. So, what do you think about what do you think about the lineups, man? United's one was surprising.
Yeah, so in our obviously we did a preview for the Europa League, and over there, me and Abhigyan, we both predicted that Mason Greenwood would not start, and I think that was something, at least in my opinion, that was something which Ole should have considered as well, because ultimately Manchester United made their first sub only in the 100th minute, which by then it was everyone was pretty tired, and I don't think that was the right time to make a substitution. Whereas if he had Greenwood on the bench and maybe went with the Fred and McTominay double pivot, he could have Greenwood off the bench, and he could give something different to Manchester United. But they really didn't have anyone from the bench. Dan James came on, Fred came on. I mean, you don't really expect them to do too many things. But yeah, I think some of that, the game management was lacking, and ultimately Villarreal, they were tactically set up for this. They were prepared. They knew what they had to do. They had to sit deep, not give space to the likes of Rashford and Greenwood to run behind, and that ultimately paid off. They managed to keep United out for majority of the game, and yeah, that was the difference.
Yeah. Big. It was. So, would you say that the game really came down to Solskjaer's lack of tactical ability to an extent, or were Villarreal just better on the day?
I think Villarreal approached the game like they should have. If they like, I've heard this around. This if they played their perfect game, which Villarreal did, they would give Manchester United trouble, and they did play a perfect game. I thought the defenders, especially the centre backs, Albiol and Pau Torres, were both outstanding. I thought, Parejo, we mentioned in the preview that his set piece delivery is very threatening, whether it's corners or free kicks and stuff. So ultimately, they did score from a set piece, and yeah, he was always going to be a threat. And I thought Etienne Capoue was also very good. He's obviously had experience in England, so he knows what it's like to play the English game. And yeah, ultimately, that's what it came down to. And of course, Ole's tactical awareness was very lacking in that game, in my opinion. You can't wait until the 100th minute to make your first substitution, especially when you have like five substitutions. I mean, that's simply not done. And in my maybe he could have considered even bringing Dean Henderson on, considering David De Gea hasn't saved a penalty since 2016. So that's something he could have considered. But yeah, ultimately Unai Emery, this is his competition. He's won it 4 times now. Fair play to Villarreal. They're now going to play in the Champions League and not play in the UEFA Conference League, where they would have played if they did not win this game.
Yeah, yeah. Just to give our listeners some context, Villarreal this season had the opportunity to play in the Conference League, the Europa League, and the Champions League. So it came down to the last game of the season when they played Real Madrid, and if they won and Betis and Sociedad slipped up, which they were doing, by the way, Villarreal would have gone on to qualify for the Europa League. If not, they would have qualified for the Conference League for sure. And they had the chance, they had the shot at the Champions League through the Europa League final. They slipped up on the last day of La Liga. Sociedad and Betis picked up points as well. So they were going to the Conference League before they won this game against United. So fair play to them, kudos to them. Unai Emery really pulls one out of the bag again. I'm sure Arsenal fans are really bummed out about this. This must be a massive slap in the face. He's been doing really well of late. So yeah, yeah. What else? What else did you have? Any other noteworthy uh, points from the game?
Um, I guess I felt that Manchester United, the big match players um, they were not really up for it. I thought Fernandes was invisible for large parts of the game. I thought their best player was actually Scott McTominay. I thought he was someone who was really driving the midfield, taking the ball forward, making he was trying to make things happen. I felt Bruno Fernandes was trying too much. I felt he's a great player, and he was basically trying to do what sometimes Lionel Messi does. He was trying to go deep, he's trying to go side, he's trying to be everywhere, and like ultimately it just wasn't working out for him. So yeah, I thought they were let down by they underperformed based on their quality, but Villarreal, like, they had one shot on target in the whole game, and that was the goal. So yeah, you just have to tip your hat to them. They set up absolutely perfectly against the Manchester United side. They denied them the opportunity to counterattack, and ultimately that is how they won the game.
Yeah, yeah. I also don't think that this was actually Villarreal's best game. I mean, the finals seldom are a team's best game, but I don't think they played particularly well. I think they played better against Real Madrid on the weekend.
Yeah,
It's surprising. I think there they have a lot of quality in their side. They have a lot of ball keeping quality. They have a lot of players who like to have the ball at their feet and play football. With Danny Parejo, Pau Torres, you have Manu Trigueros in midfield, Gerard Moreno, Carlos Bacca up top. These are all players who like to play football, who like to have the ball, and it was surprising to see them sort of retreat in a low block yesterday, which I didn't really expect. I sort of expected them to come out on the front foot a little bit yesterday, but they took it to penalties and they won. I wouldn't say deservedly so, uh, because on the night I think both teams were fairly equal. I think if penalties are the defining factor, I think that's a fair reflection of how even the game was. So yeah, Zohair is joining me here, and he looks very, very sleepy, very tired. Zohair, what were your thoughts, man? I'm sure you're very bummed out, stressed out, whatever you may be after last night.
I'm too sad about it, man. So I'm just not gonna talk about it.
Okay, okay, we have the avoid talking about it therapy mentality here. Okay, okay. That's actually a good segue into our second conversation of the day, which is the entire manager conundrum surrounding the football community at this time. We have Antonio Conte, who leaves Inter Milan after a very successful season. He won the Scudetto with Inter Milan. We have Andrea Pirlo being sacked by Juventus, although that was probably coming. It was surprising given that the board supported him, though. Mas Allegri poised to take up that job now, which is again surprising because he was supposed to take up the Real Madrid job. Zidane, just a few hours earlier, it was announced that Zidane's leaving as well. And Real Madrid has now registered interest in PSG's Maurizio Pochettino, which is obviously something that I'm looking forward to. We have Raul and we also have Raul and Conte now linked with the job now that Allegri is not linked anymore. We have managers with their jobs in the air. We have I don't know if I should mention Solskjaer, but after last night, maybe Solskjaer's sort of feeling the pressure. Koeman's, I'm sure, is feeling the pressure as well. What are your guys' thoughts on this entire situation? That's going to be quite a roundabout going in the over this summer.
I think Solskjaer is getting a new contract. I think I read somewhere that he's going to be getting another 3-year contract with Manchester United. So I think he's going to stay for a few more seasons, or at least one more season. I mean, I don't know if that's the right call based on the expectations of a club of the size of Manchester United, but you can't deny that there's definitely been some degree of progress under him. I think they've finished like in the Champions League for 2 consecutive seasons for the first time since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, which is quite remarkable. So fair play to them. Um, and I think in general, the whole dressing room is kind of it's more in harmony compared to before Solskjaer came in. So I think there's definitely that aspect. But if they still have to win silverware to show, and unfortunately they haven't won anything under him yet. So let's see. I mean, he's gonna stay, so I don't think he's gonna go anywhere at this time.
What about the others? What about the situation surrounding the Italian managers, Real Madrid? What do you think about all that? Because this is going to be it's going to be a very, it's going to have a butterfly effect on. Am I using butterfly effect here correctly? I don't think I am. No, but it's going to have sort of a
Ripple effect.
ripple effect. That's what I was going for. A ripple
A
effect
butterfly
on.
effect is a ripple effect.
I
Just
know, I
saying.
know, I know, I know, I know, I know. I know. I used it wrong, but it's going to have a ripple effect, and so yeah, I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, in my opinion, it's ultimately going to depend on who Real Madrid get because I think at least in my opinion, they are on top of the food chain when it comes to the clubs which the managers may want to go to. So, for example, if Pochettino goes to Real Madrid, then he doesn't go to Spurs, and then Spurs have to kind of go for Conte or I don't know, Espirito Santos, whoever is available. Um, but yeah, I think it just depends
I mean,
on that.
PSG then require a manager as well. So,
Yeah,
so
PSG apparently Zidane is being linked to PSG, and I think that makes sense given that he'll go back home to France. So there are a lot of things which are going to factor in all these where these managers end up, who ends up managing these clubs. So yeah, it remains to be seen.
oh, it's actually interesting you mentioned Zidane because he's actually being linked with the France job and the Juventus job. But now that the Juventus job isn't going to be a reality anymore, the France job, Zidane's always been the kind of guy who, after like a managerial stint, will require a year off just to sort of recuperate. So we could see him in that France position. We also have Joachim Löw, who's been replaced by Hansi Flick after the Euros, so he could potentially take up a position in one of the leagues. So it's exciting. We're seeing a mass exodus of managers, and it's yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
be a massive ripple effect.
Yeah,
So
it's a lot of these big clubs too that are actually going to be requiring managers. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go. But yeah, carry on.
yeah, for sure. So I want to hear your thoughts, man.
On what?
On the manager situation. You depressed being. Cheer up. I'm sure you next year you're gonna get a shot at the Europa League after you get eliminated from the group stage.
That's very nice of you to say. And also, with regard to what Satyajit said about Ole, I wouldn't expect anything less. Um, like healthy skepticism from a Liverpool fan. And yeah, of course, we expect trophies from him. With regard to the managerial situation, I think a lot of teams, not just in England but all around the globe, are unhappy with the way things are, and and to that effect, they want to bring on large scale change, and changing managers would be the way to go. So, but one particular story I heard is that Pochettino is coming back to Tottenham, and I don't know if that's the right move for him. So, what do you guys think?
Oh, Pochettino to Real Madrid all every day of the week, man. I will take that. Pochettino is the kind of guy you need to build you can build a project around. He's young enough to sort of encourage the development of youth that we sort of need here at Real Madrid. Uh, and he's reliable as well. He can get us results. The silverware superstition is something that I don't necessarily buy into. I think he at every team he's been, except maybe PSG this past year, has exceeded their value, their performance levels, and he's sort of taken them to a next level. And I'm sure that if he comes to Real Madrid, we do well. We do a lot better than we play a lot better than we've been doing lately. So I'm looking forward.
All right, but coming to the finals, right? What do you what are you expecting from that? Because that's the big thing that we have here to talk about tonight. Are you excited? Are both, even though both none of you have skin in the game, are you both excited for what's coming up?
Yeah, man, definitely. I mean, it's going to be an exciting game. We've seen this matchup a few times already this season, and each time, it's been an interesting result. Usually, and I expect it to be a tight affair. Uh, Thomas Tuchel's sides usually they're set up to defend, and City usually will probably play exciting attacking football. So it'll be an interesting clash of styles, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. So yeah, definitely, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this game is going to be a repeat of the past three meetings that we've seen. Was it three or four?
I think this would be the fourth time that they play each other. So we've seen two
Okay.
in the league and one in the FA Cup. Although the one of the games in the leagues, the manager was Frank Lampard. So I don't know if you're gonna count that.
All right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm just gonna say thrice. This is the thrice third time that they're. Wait, no. Actually, this is. I mean, I'm not gonna take. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna take your advice. I'm not gonna take the Lampard example here. This is gonna be the third clash between Tuchel and Pep. The first two were won by Tuchel, which is very surprising. We have our lineups in front of you for what we believe will be put out, and but this is a game that, based on the past results, can't really be predicted. We probably narrowly have City with the advantage just because they have the better quality players and the better manager. But Tuchel has the better tactical mind in my head, so he might just pull another one out of the bag and deliver the biggest trophy in football. So, Sada, walk us through your lineup, man. What you obviously put one out here. Give us your reasons behind it. I see that you've made a couple of interesting calls. You have Pulisic in ahead of people like Ziyech, Havertz. So just go over your players and explain.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as you can see, I've gone with the three center back, wing back formation, which he's used so often this season. One interesting thing I can tell you about right off the bat is I'm putting Reece James as a third center back rather than a wing back. Um, I thought I've seen Tuchel use him in that position of I think twice or thrice before already, and it's basically to ensure that there's some pace. One of the center backs is pacey, and Azpilicueta, he's not the quickest or he's not the best going forward, but he's one of the best one-on-one defenders in the Premier League, and yeah, I think that defensive cover on the wing, especially against the likes of Foden and Zinchenko, if Foden starts, which I think he will, or even if it's Sterling, it's going to be necessary because I think Azpilicueta is quite good one-on-one. So that's right off the bat. Reece James as its RCB and Azpilicueta as a right wing back. Then you have, of course, have the midfield duo of Conte and Jorginho. I know Jorginho has been shaky, but I think Tuchel trusts him even like after all his mistakes. I don't think he's going to put Kovacic in there for a final like just immediately. He hasn't played too much recently. He's always favored this midfield pivot, so I think that's what he's gonna go with. Now, of course, the front three. Mount is a certainty. He's going to start for sure. Um, so Werner, even though he's been unable to finish a lot of chances, he still have maintained his starting position, and I think ultimately that's gonna stay. He's gonna continue to start even in this final. And of course, the third person was always going to be a question mark. So I put Pulisic because I felt his performance against Real Madrid in the first leg was pretty good. Um, I think he starts. I think he brings more dynamic. He brings more dynamic movement against as compared to maybe Havertz and Ziyech. You could make a case for either of them starting, but I went with Pulisic because he scored a goal against Real Madrid. I think he would start this one, and the other two would come off the bench. So yeah, that's my lineup.
Okay, yeah, interesting. I have my doubts about James at center back just because he was there against Leicester in that position to deal with the pace of Vardy, right? Against City, I don't expect Chelsea to keep a high line. And in the case of a low block, I would much rather have Azpilicueta there and James on the right. But yeah, I think this is an accurate enough representation of what we'll see. It's exciting. On the City end, though, we have a Ford. I mean, City lineups are just so hard to predict, man. Like that guy is just gonna put out the most random lineup there is, and he might even just pull it off. But this is something that we've thought he might put out based on what he has in the Champions League and the players he's been resting in the league. So we have Ederson in goal, obviously. The fullbacks were a bit of a dilemma because you might always have Cancelo on the left, Walker on the right, yeah, and you have those permutations being put up. But I've decided to go with Zinchenko on the left, Ruben Diaz, Stones, and Cancelo. I don't think Pep goes with the three-man defense with Laporte in there. I think it's a four-man defense with the defensive cover that Fernandinho provides. You have Gundogan in midfield, obviously. The third midfielder was also up in the air. I was thinking that Pep might go with a double pivot with Fernandinho and Rodri, but I'm looking at the past at the PSG game, and he started Bernardo in that, and it might seem a little simplistic, but based on that, I'm gonna give Bernardo the edge here. I think he starts, and the front three. I don't think Sterling starts this one because he's been out of favor for a while. So Foden, De Bruyne, Mahrez take the last three spots for me. Um, yeah, I think it's sort of going to be something along these lines, unless Pep throws like a real tactical curveball our way to sort of trick Tuchel. It's going to be interesting, man. This is going to be a chess game. Pep and Tuchel, two of the best tactical mind masters there are, and it's going to be interesting. How do you think Chelsea are going to set up? Because you've obviously drawn out the formation here, but how do you think the players are going to move? Where do you think that goal threat comes from? How do you think they're going to play and like move stuff around on the tactics board, draw stuff up? Because I think that would help us sort of visualize a little bit better.
Yeah, sure. So I'm gonna show you what I think is gonna take place. So you basically will have Werner operating around the center back area. He's not going to be a traditional center forward. He's not going to be, he's not going to be waiting for crosses. He's not really been that good at heading the ball. I think he's got a lot of his goals disallowed while doing that. So I think he operates in this area. Um, you'll have Pulisic trying to make runs in behind. So you'll have him kind of go from here. Sorry, my bad. Um,
Yeah, it's a little tricky to get
yeah,
used to.
so he basically tried to get in behind here. You have Chilwell bombing forward, of course, that way. You have
So
Aspilicueta.
wait,
I don't think.
you have Pulisic going here, and you expect Cancelo to be dragged in here, sort
Yeah,
of in like a third center back position, and you expect Chilwell to make these runs forward, right?
yeah, because when in possession, we've seen Pep kind of like the fullbacks to kind of move into midfield and kind of operate over there. And yeah, I think that'll leave some space for the likes of Pulisic to go over here or cut inside, that kind of thing. So I think that's how he's going to approach it. Mount, of course, he will try to operate in a similar area over here. So basically he's going to try to maybe put a few passes through, orchestrate the game in the final third. Of course, you have Conte here and Jorginho here. So Jorginho, obviously, he's got the passing range, but he doesn't have the speed like Conte. So he's just gonna try basically be here, and Conte is gonna provide the defensive cover for that back three or back four, because honestly speaking, I don't think Aspilicueta goes too forward. I don't think he's going to be like Reece
Yeah,
James. Whereas if Reece James was playing there, I think I can see him go forward a lot more and whip in a few crosses. So if James was going forward, he would basically, whip in a cross, like
yeah,
that for if maybe it's a low cross because Werner can't hit the ball. So yeah, I think that's how. And even at third center back, we've seen them kind of come up. James could have a shot from, I don't know,
yeah.
where he is here. He's shown that he
He
can
takes a
shoot
lot of
from
shots from there.
distance. Y-
He does take a lot of shots from like this area over here, this area over here. I don't know how he finds himself there, but yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, that's obviously going to be as when in possession, and against Man City, usually don't expect to have a lot of possession. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he approaches that part of the game, because we all expect City to have possession and control the game. So the onus will be on Chelsea to kind of stop them from controlling that tempo, and hopefully they can create chances. And what they and lately that's been their issue. They've been creating lots and lots of chances, but they can't just finish anything. Like we saw that against Aston Villa, we saw that against Leicester. They just can't put the ball in the back of the net lately, and I think that's ultimately going to be a big issue for them if they want to win this game. So yeah, definitely that's something they need to consider.
yeah. I think that's sort of what's going to be their attacking plan. I think a lot of their play is going to come down this left side with Chilwell bombing up. I don't think Aspilicueta, you were right. I don't think he goes up a
Yeah.
lot. I think if James plays over there, I think he does. Pulisic operating in this little hole here with. I did wonder if Mount was sort of going to be playing in the hole along with Pulisic over here, with
Hmm.
Werner over here. But I think
Yeah.
this sort of comes down to Chelsea's ability to keep the ball, and I
Hmm.
think they've done a pretty good job of that. In which case, I think we could see like a Mount Pulisic duo behind Werner, with Aspilicueta sort of over here, but Chilwell on this side, and Pulisic able to like drop in into like these areas over
Yeah.
here and sort of dictate play a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh,
And we also shouldn't forget that Chilwell has, scored for Chelsea in the last few games. He scored against Aston Villa. He scored a disallowed goal against Leicester in the FA Cup final as well. So, he can be a goal threat, Chilwell. But there's also another avenue where they can score from, and that's of course going to be set pieces. I think they have a lot of good headers of the ball in Silva and Rudiger. Um, obviously, you know
Yes,
Werner.
City don't have the biggest of players. That's actually a very viable option.
Yeah, exactly. So Rudiger, of course, is very tall. Silva can, score set pieces as well. Mount can take good corners. So yeah, it'll be and so can Reece James. Both of them are decent crosses of the ball. So yeah, definitely it'll
Yeah,
be interesting. It'll be an interesting option for them. And City, obviously, defending set pieces will have to be careful.
for sure, for sure. I think a lot of this comes down to, again, like Chelsea's ability to keep the ball, right?
Hmm.
They did a pretty good job of it in the league games that Tuchel has played against Pep. But I expect that just because Chelsea is a relatively young squad with some inexperience going on, this Champions League game might just be a little big for them. And I think Man City sort of shared the possession. Uh, okay, not shade, but dictate play a little bit more. I'm just gonna go over City's formation a little bit. I think Foden is gonna drop into this little hole here. De Bruyne, like similar to Pulisic, actually. He's gonna sort of try and get into these places here. Mahrez, I don't think he cuts in as much as he like sort of goes out wide and tries to receive the ball. And he's obviously going to be up against Rudiger. I don't think he. I mean, Chilwell could track back, but I think he's mostly up against Rudiger. It's going to really come down to his ability to get past Rudiger, which is not easy, right? He usually tends to come back in on his left foot, but he's gotten a little more unpredictable of late, so he might just go along the outside again. But then again, they have that problem that they don't have a presence in the box, right? So De Bruyne, I sort of expect De Bruyne to roam in these areas over here, uh, with De Bruyne sort of operating in this area, and uh, and Gundogan too. Gundogan sort of exploring this space here along with Foden and Zinchenko. Okay, wait, that's not what I wanted to do. Um, just gonna undo that. That's not happening. All right, never mind. Zinchenko just bombing forward on this side. Cancelo too. I can see him drop into midfield here a little bit, into this space over here. I think he's done that a lot this season. Pep's asked him to sort of drop into midfield, drop into these little pockets of space here, and he's done pretty well here and supporting Mahrez on that front. Bernardo Silva too. I see him going up a little bit, but I see Fernandinho just on this beyond the halfway line just a little bit. Werner, I expect him to drop back. Werner, Mount, Jorginho over here, Kante as usual all over the field. Aspilicueta here as well. But I expect City to keep sort of a high line with Stones, Ruben Diaz, and Zinchenko over here. I do have doubts about City's ability to put the ball in the back of the net. Right. I don't think they're going to have a lot of success with crosses. Over, okay, that's really not what I want to do. um, I don't think they're going to have a lot of joy with crosses from the likes of Mahrez and Zinchenko through here, just because they don't have a presence in the box. So they're going to have to sort of find a way to tiki taka their way into the goal with De Bruyne playing the passes here through the inner channel along the center backs for the likes of Foden and Mahrez to run into, right? So I think that's their most viable form of attack. I don't think they have a lot of presence on set pieces. I think only Ruben Diaz and Stones, maybe Fernandinho, can get the better of uh, Thiago Silva and Rudiger, but I'm not expecting a whole lot there. So I expect City to keep the ball a lot and just sort of dictate the play a little bit more, circulate the ball all over the field along the center backs and put it out into the wings before they come back into the center or midfield with the likes of De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, before then trying to find the right moment to strike and play the ball through the channel for the likes of Mahrez, Foden, and then Gundogan. As usual, he's been making these runs a lot. This is also a viable form of attack. I think Gundogan can make those runs into the box for the likes of Foden to sort of cross the ball into for Gundogan to put it in. I think that's a fairly viable form of attack for City. Uh, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's about right. I think also you have to consider, if they try to put the ball in the box and let's say it just kind of trickles outside, you can expect De Bruyne to kind of take a long shot. He scored from distance many times for Man City. Bernardo, of course, also is a threat in the box. You can see him also go inside the box. I remember him doing that against Liverpool, where I think he pressed one of the defenders or intercepted Allison's poor clearance, and then just manipulated the ball into the box for, I think it was Sterling, to score. So yeah, you can expect all those ways. I think their pressing game will have to be very good against Chelsea. I know they're not very easy to kind of press. I think some of their players like Jorginho usually are reliable in possession, although he has made some mistakes. But yeah, I think De Bruyne's threat with long shots is also an important option to consider. Also, his free kick ability. So any foul in this area, it's threatening. Mahrez can also take a free kick, as we saw against PSG, where he scored. Although the wall was poor, but he still managed to score from that. So yeah, lots of avenues for them to score. I think they have a lot of strength of the bench as well. Like, for example, if they need to get a striker on, they can get Aguero or Jesus on. They can obviously offer something different. So I think it's gonna be an interesting way. Interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how City approach this game. But I think what you're saying is more or less correct.
Yeah. It's a good point that you mentioned with the strength in the bench. I think both teams have a lot of strength in reserves. So City have the likes of Jesus, Aguero, Sterling, and these are all players that can hurt you, who can change a game on their day. Chelsea have the likes of Ziyech and Havertz. These are like really an embarrassment of riches to bring on, and they've obviously done well to get to the situation. Both of them have strength in depth, quality in their starting lineups, and it's something. Bench depth could definitely be a factor in this. Uh, but I wanted to ask you this. Um, and I want you to sort of address this in a short, concise way. I
Yeah.
want you to name one avenue through which Chelsea can get success against City.
I think we've seen that in their games, which Tuchel has beaten Pep, that he has kind of relied on maybe more space in the defense, like try to outnumber them somewhat. So, like for example, the goal we saw against City, where Marcus Alonso somehow managed to score. I think that was some good build-up play right at the very end. So I think outnumbering them, especially with the fullbacks going into midfield, if they can get a counter going, they will have the numbers advantage. So I think that is one potential way for them to score.
Yeah, I agree. They have speed as well, so I think getting forward in numbers isn't really a problem for them. So that's fairly accurate. Also, do you see any Pep tactical throw balls being thrown our way? Do you see any curveballs that Pep, he has this ability to sort of overthink it in games, right? Sort of play formations that he hasn't played before, players in positions they've never played before. He has that knack to do that. Do you see any of that happening?
Um, I don't think so. I think Pep's got a really good record in finals. He's only lost the one final against Jose Mourinho back when he was in Barcelona. Um, so I don't think he's gonna necessarily go away from what's worked best for him this season, which is of course 4-3-3, false nine, that kind of thing that's worked for him throughout the season. I don't think he's gonna go away from that. So I think his experience in finals is going to show up. He's won the Carabao Cup this season. He's won the Premier League this season, and I think he knows what it takes to win. And I think that's what he's going to stay with. So I don't think you should expect any curveballs.
All right. Well, you had a great prediction against for the Europa League final. You had Villarreal to win 2-1 in extra time. A little off, like they won in penalties, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Before we wrap up, what are your predictions for this one? I'm gonna try and write this down. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with um I'm gonna say I'm gonna be a bit against the crowd again. I'm gonna say Chelsea win this. I'm gonna say Chelsea win this 2-1.
Oof, man, big call, big call, big call, big call. Uh, okay, my prediction. Uh, let me just. ah. Okay, I'm gonna say Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea take this. I think it goes the other way. I think it's City 2, Chelsea 1, with City going 2 goals up and Chelsea getting one at the end as consolation. Those are my predictions. With your recent prediction record, I don't like going against you, but let's see what happens. I'm excited. This Saturday night, guys, it's 12:30 a.m. I'm talking in Indian Standard Time, but I don't think we've had an international fan base yet. So
Yeah.
12:30 a.m. Uh, Tune in and watch this game because it's going to be an absolute cracker and you're not going to leave disappointed. Okay, and I hope I get my predictions right because yeah, I've had a pretty bad track record of this now. It's sort of developing into a bad habit right now, so I hope this pans out. But for us from the footy pod, this is goodbye. We this has been a great podcast. Thanks, Satyajit, for joining me, and we hope to bring you more content. We have the Euros coming up, the Champions League concluding. We had the transfer. I'm so excited to talk about the transfer market because this transfer market is going to be massive for so many clubs, and it's going to shape the futures of so many clubs. I'm not even going to hide and say something like that. I'm not going to sort of discount the fact that this summer is going to be massive for a lot of clubs, and it's going to sort of shape their future. And it's going to be such an exciting year for football, and we're so excited to sort of dig into that and dissect that with you. So tune in. We have so much more coming up, and stay tuned. Like, comment, subscribe if you like our content. Let us know if you want us to sort of talk about something, and we'll make sure to come out with that. So, from me, Sato, this is by the Footy Pod signing off.
Take care, guys. Thank you for joining.